Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back to the House List. This is my weekly podcast. Peter Agostin is my name. I am the producer and the host of the show. Each and every show is edited and engineered by my man CJ Stewart out in California. He's moving. I'm moving around. So that's why last week we didn't have an episode. But more importantly, last week we didn't have an episode because I was preparing and traveling for the first ever House List live taping, which took place at the Waking Windows Music Festival in Winooski, Vermont, just outside of Burlington, Vermont. I was brought up there by Patty and Brian, and shouts to Nick and Jasmine, I was there for the festival. They brought me up to do a live taping of the House List, which I did with an incredible rapper, writer, producer, Milo, who's out in Milwaukee, but I'll get into sort of breaking his story down in just a sec. So that was exciting. I'd never done the House List yet in front of an audience. Now I've been on stage in front of audiences many times for many years, but this was the first time, and I'm hoping genuinely that it leads to many more times. I really enjoy doing these conversations and these interviews live in front of an audience. So this was like kind of a test. This was our pilot in a way. And I think that it worked out. I think it was a big success. I was a bit nervous, but it all sort of fell into place. And Milo was someone I had never met him before. So it was kind of exciting in that regard. So we got to sort of know each other in the midst of a conversation on stage in front of an audience. And he had his production partner, his homie, Safari Alex, who was with him. They kind of have a label sort of movement thing called Ruby Yacht. That's dope. That we got into I'm still like sort of processing it all, even though now I'm back in New York. I'm back in Brooklyn. It's a couple days later. It's not raining anymore. But yeah, I took this 9-hour Amtrak train from Penn Station to Essex, Vermont, and the promoter picked me up. It had been a while since I'd done one of those kind of trips, and it was fun, man. It was actually awesome. I love it. And I love traveling by train as well. And I watched every episode of Rapping with the Rickster, Ricky Powell's cable access show from the 90s. Then I watched Out of Sync, a 1995 feature-length film starring LL Cool J that was also quite entertaining. And I tried to do some work, do some writing, some emails, some calls, and stuff like that. And I got a text from my man Bobby Simmons of Stetsasonic, the drummer of the original hip-hop band Stetsasonic, while I was traveling up there. And he hit me and he told me that he ran into Andre 3000, and that Andre 3000, of course, of Outkast, had peeped our conversation out on the podcast, on the House List, this very podcast that you happen to be listening to. So I was like, wow, say word, really? And I was, excited, exhilarated. That was episode 28 of the podcast, by the way, Bobby Simmons. And what's also kind of fun and interesting is that over last weekend, we surpassed over 10,000 plays on SoundCloud.com. So if you listen to this on SoundCloud, it's TheHouseListPodcast. So you can find it that way. It's also on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. But I thought that was cool. Okay, this is starting to gel a little bit. This is starting to happen just a little bit. I run a booking agency. I run a record label. I got a lot of stuff going on in my life. So to be able to take time out of the week to do one or two of these conversations and have it somehow connect. The Andre 3000 thing, that's dope. That's cool. That's a cool bonus. But anybody listening to it is great. For me, it can be anybody. I don't care if you're a mega celebrity or if you're just like me, just a normal guy and stuff, or gal. The more gals listening, the better. And trust me, it's just a matter of scheduling. There's several women that are slated to be on the podcast too. So I know it's getting a little dude heavy, but anyway, I digress about that. So Waking Windows, this past weekend in Winooski, Vermont, where I'm going to get into this conversation very shortly with Milo and Alex, Safari Al, who was with us on stage. He didn't say a ton, but I did kind of implore a little bit out of him too, because they do a lot of music together and they're friends. They traveled together. They drove all the way there from Milwaukee. They drove from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Burlington, Vermont, which is pretty amazing. And they even gave me a ride back to the hotel afterwards. I walked from the hotel to the festival. It was like an hour, which is a great time. In fact, I did a lot of walking while I was there. I walked around. I saw people scuba diving in the lake in Burlington. I saw little children do a parade downtown, like at 8 o'clock in the morning. And just was prepping and getting my head together and just getting ready to do this thing. And listen, if you have a music festival or a podcast festival, or you're at a college, or you do like readings at galleries and stuff like that, you can hit me up to do the podcast, do the House List Live, where I would interview someone. And mostly, initially, let's, do someone in music, whether it's someone in the music industry, a label owner or publicist, a manager or a tour manager or booking agent, or an artist, someone in a band or a producer, a vocalist, a DJ, any number of things. I'm down. You can get at me. I'm at Twitter at TheHouseListPod. Follow me there. You can even find my email address at the SoundCloud page. So soundcloud.com/TheHouseListPodcast. So reach out any way you can and find me. I'm down to do this. We can work it out. I'm available. Looking at the fall, winter, and spring of 2018 for sure. So let's see what else here before we get into this great conversation. Oh yeah. Waking Windows as a festival itself was great. It was like all based around this town square in Winooski, Vermont. And it was a great bill. It was cool. It sort of was like kind of like a South by Southwest vibe, or any kind of smaller regional festival where it's all contained in like basically one city block. I saw my old roommate Bob Jones from Eaters, a band called Eaters from Brooklyn. But yeah, I saw Real Estate, Check, Dan Deacon. I saw them play. I got to finally see Milo rock live, which was great. Mind Design was there. Even the homie Open Mike Eagle was got on Milo's set. I missed his performances. He played the night that I arrived, but it was great to see him. I hadn't seen him in a while, and it was dope. It's a great festival. If you're ever in the greater Northeast or around Vermont during this time of year, it was their 7th Waking Windows. Yeah, I think you can go to wakingwindows.com and check it out. I want to give them a shout out though, because what we did was at the Stoplight Gallery in Winooski. It's called Waking Life. It was like a full day of speakers and people that were involved in radio and like cable access, and like there was some cool people. And I got there early and peeped out some of the stuff. And I think essentially the people that were like really involved were from this kind of local community radio station, WBTV. That's 99.3 FM if you're in Burlington, and it's 993wbtv.org. Check them out because they were instrumental in taping this conversation. So, okay, I think I've talked enough. I'm hitting the 10-minute mark, so if you haven't already fast-forwarded through this, thank you guys for tuning in. I got a couple really great episodes coming up following this one too. So, yeah, I'm going to try to really deliver some great ones because I'm going to Europe at the end of the month. I'm going to Hungary to visit my family in Budapest. So I'm going to try to give you some really great ones before I leave. And yeah, so anyway, Milo, check out my conversation with him, recorded live at Waking Windows in Winooski, Vermont, in front of a live audience. In fact, the whole room filled up by the time we were done, because people were just coming off the street. Some people knew him, were like hardcore fans. Some people were not hip at all and were just engaged in the conversation. And I thought it was cool. It was cool. It was a light thing where we covered his career. We talked about a new album. He has a new album coming out probably in the third quarter of this year. And we talk about that. We talk about his previous releases as well. And I thought it was great. I think the dude is super on some shit that's worth checking out. If you're not hip to him, like I'm telling you right now, seek his material out. He has about like 3 records that you can find right now. The label is really dope. They do these zines and tapes and some cool merch. It's called Ruby Yacht. So find that. That's a good starting point. And yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys at the outro too. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. We're back with The House List. Check out my conversation, me and Milo, right now. All right. Check.
True.
Check.
True.
Check it. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. Well, here we are in Winooski. This is a live recording, a live taping of the House List podcast. I'm Peter Agostin, the host and the producer of the show. This is the first time I've ever recorded in this manner before. And typically I actually even have a handheld mic. So with my guests, they're usually, I do this in the living room, in the living room of my home mostly, or sometimes in a hotel room or something like that. And it's usually like I have a little mic like this, which actually stopped working like 5 minutes before I got here too, because I was going to back it up. So it's very ironic too. But I'd be like,
Yeah. I record like that.
Yeah. So it's like a little tasking thing. So this is kind of cool. So we have all of our own microphones, and I have a special guest.
I get to keep this mic?
Yeah. If I have anything to say about it.
I get to keep this mic? That's cool. I knew I liked Waking Windows.
So, great. We got a couple guests. Here we are, just starting up the first live taping of the HouseListPodcast. I'm Peter Agostin, your host and the producer of the show. We're here live at Waking Windows in Winooski, Vermont. And I'm with my very special guest, Milo, in the house.
What's up?
And his man, what's your name again?
Alex.
Nice.
Tight.
Well,
Tight.
I'm excited to finally talk to you, and actually to talk to both of you, because I didn't know that Alex, that you would be here.
I have to bring a trigger man with me.
Yeah, I wonder if it's interesting. It's also an adjustment to hear you, because we're like kind of bouncing off the walls too. So.
Oh yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's
stadium
cool.
style.
The echo chamber is it's like it comes with the room. You know.
We're in the metaphor.
So I guess. I've been trying to think of a way to find a starting point in the conversation too, because I didn't really when I do the podcast, which is usually just like kind of informal conversations with artists. You find it's on iTunes and SoundCloud and the Stitcher app. I'm usually just we just kind of start going, and whether it's based around a musician's albums or certain releases, that's kind of like a bonus, or it's a little inconsequential. So I wanted to really try to figure out an interesting way to start with you, especially because your man's here too. You guys are both you both live in Milwaukee.
We live in Milwaukee.
Same block.
Same block.
But you've lived in
D block.
On D block.
Pearson block.
So, but you've kind of moved around a lot growing up too. So,
yeah.
How long have you been in Milwaukee though?
I've been in Milwaukee now for 2 years.
Okay, cool. And what about you?
Same. We lived together for last year.
So, how did you guys link up? Was it school?
In high school.
High school.
Yeah, we met in high school. We both did theater.
What town was that in?
Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Okay, Kenosha, Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't that far from Milwaukee, right?
No, it isn't. It's about 40 minutes.
So then, because I was trying to get a grasp of how rooted, you guys are in Milwaukee as far as like artists?
I don't really.
Not very.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, because I mean, it sort, and that's interesting too, because it sort of goes into like, growing up, you kind of moved around a little bit too, as well.
Yeah.
So, because I was trying to think, I wonder if where you live now, how much that even informs the material, because a lot of stuff has come out from both of you in the last couple of years. So it's been while you've been in Milwaukee. So do you feel you don't really feel any kind of like real connection to that place?
Well, for a living, I'm a touring musician, so I'm not home very often.
Right.
And I chose Milwaukee to move to after a failed stint in LA because it was cheap and kind of like represented an off the map space.
Right.
Yeah, and it still does. And I mean, that is the pro and the con of that place.
Yeah, what's the vibe of that place? I've been all around, but I've never been to Milwaukee, never kicked it in. I've booked shows there.
It's Rust Belt City.
Yeah.
Just typical failing infrastructure, rampant racism and segregation. I mean, it's a pretty miserable place to be, especially if you're black. Yeah.
Is there even, like, it's funny because the Rust Belt too is in a sort of weird flux. If you look as far as like, if you talk about like gentrification and certain cities, say like you take Detroit, for example, or Pittsburgh, that are kind of like mutating a little bit. It seems like Milwaukee is still kind of pretty low on that list, right? Or do you see that happening there?
Yeah, we're seeing it happen there. They're building like a new, I don't know, many hundreds of $1 million Buck Stadium.
Oh, wow.
There's all type of new players and shit on that team that people will fucking pay money to stare at. So yeah.
I mean, and then you actually have like, there's a baseball team there too. There is
I don't know
sports
there,
infrastructure.
I blot all that shit out of my mind.
Right.
Milwaukee consists of like my boys on the same block as me, my family, and we really don't participate in anything that Milwaukee is proud of. Yeah.
Like a true touring artist. That's cool, man. I can dig it. Because I think the first time I even became sort of cognizant of your music was really maybe at the very beginning of like the Hellfire Club like era. And that inadvertently, I think at first I thought that you might just be from Los Angeles, like,
right, yeah.
Because everyone, for the most part, I think everyone else was from
like
LA.
the oddity. Mm-hmm.
So how did you even? I know this is probably well-worn territory, but how did you even fall into those?
No, it's not that well-worn.
Yeah, because I've been curious, because you are kind of, for lack of a better word, it's not like an outsider to that clique, but you're not a native of Los Angeles.
To really understand it is like the Great Migration occurred, right, for black people, and so there was just a few hub cities where really, if you're black, you can trace your family back to. So yes, Hellfire Club is a LA rap crew, but many members of that rap crew can trace family to Chicago, and that's where we kind of met. I met Mike Eagle through my uncle. They both had pledged the same fraternity.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I grew up listening to Mike Eagle's music, hearing him rap in parks, whatever.
So Open Mike Eagle was the first kind of connector to that.
Open Mike Eagle put me on the bus driver's music when I was a kid.
That's what's up.
And so then, from like 12 on,
really?
Listening to Bus, you know what I mean? And so I guess rearing myself on that music helped them to appreciate me, even though I'm not from LA. So like when I did meet Reagan, bus driver, he was really the person who went up to bat for Hellfire signing me, even though I wasn't from LA.
Yeah, because it's interesting too, because now like I've been really immersing myself in your music during this trip too, and I came up from New York. I took the 9-hour train ride from New York. You guys just played in Bennington College last night too, and y'all have been on the road already for several days, I assume, as well too. So we've all kind of traveled long distances to get here in Winooski at Waking Windows. But I'm just trying to frame it a little bit more too, because I've known those guys. I've known a lot of the Project Blown and the Freestyle Fellowship guys for a long, long time. And Reagan, also known as bus driver, for many, many years too, and did touring with him and CVE and Rifleman and LA Cool a long time ago, back in the day. Yeah, DJ for them. Cool. Yeah, we did this crazy tour with Circus, Bus Driver, LA Cool, and Rifleman, just like in Oregon and Northern California. Yeah. Oh man, we got in there was fisticuffs.
Yeah, of course
and,
it was.
lots of other stuff. So,
Damn.
but it's interesting because the music is informed by that kind of, a portion of it seems to be informed by the leg of Project Blow that Bus Driver really like.
That community.
Say what?
That community.
Absolutely.
Leimert
yeah.
Park as a
Yes,
community.
Good
and
Life,
that sound.
Leimert
Good
Park
Life,
in Los Angeles was a part of Los Angeles that bred a wide range of artists, not just rappers, but a lot of poets and cool thinkers and singers and bands and stuff too. And it's a very interesting part of LA too. That's also changing and evolving and stuff. So.
We had to move out there for ourselves and see it.
Yeah. So how long were you living there?
We were there for like maybe 9 months. The gestation period, the time to make a child.
Did you guys like go out there, drive out there together and find a crib?
Yeah, we drove out there together. We found a spot. It was in Boyle Heights. And we lived there. It was actually kind of a interesting time because, are you familiar with like a lot of SoundCloud rap stuff?
Yeah, I have a pretty good
Word,
knowledge
so
of SoundCloud rap.
At the
Maybe
time,
the people in the audience might not have a breadth of that, but yeah. So break it down.
Yeah, they'll find it. But there's a few crews, Thrax House, which some of the members then mutated into a crew called Goth Boy Clique. And so they were living in our house, or we all lived in one house. And so it was a really creative, interesting time. It was like 10 to 12 people in like a 3-bedroom, you know what I mean? Just a bunch of different artists. It was cool.
Yeah, LA has a great, there's a way about Los Angeles that you can find that. But I think that in certain cities, artists like that, regardless of the era, 2 or a year, they kind of can find themselves, whether it's like a punk rock squat or something like that. Because even if you go do the history in LA too, the group The Far Side had a house where they lived. It's called the Far Side Manor when they were like 19, 20.
That's dope.
Where it was a lot of dudes like that in the Fellowship and people all kind of congregated. They partied, but they also made a lot of amazing music. So you guys were making music in that house as well?
Yeah, we were making music in that house in the beginning, and then I started renting a garage from someone in Echo Park, and it became the Wahoo Monastery, also known as the Houseboat. And then that was really where like people would come through and record and hang out.
But that was your guys' studio setup that you set up?
That was Al and I's spot.
Dope. So what records, maybe this would be an easy way for people to kind of gain some perspective on too, for what records that people know of y'all's that did you do in that era, from that location?
Red Wall.
Yeah,
Nice.
We did the entirety of the Red Wall record there. We did, I started Plain Speaking there. I started So the Flies Don't Come there. Really like...
So it's a pretty prolific place.
Extremely important place. It was where I really discovered how to like produce music, like make beats that I liked. Was in that little garage.
Right.
Yeah.
So was that at the same time that because you have a label too, an imprint?
Right. Rubaiyat. Yeah, we made that at the time.
Yeah.
Rubaiyat is not an imprint, by the way. I mean, Rubaiyat is its own label. We're distributed by Alpha Pup, but we're not an imprint.
Right. So okay, but how would you? Like, how do you
that
look at it?
That means we have full autonomy, and we are our own company, and we don't accept checks from anybody else. A distributor gets our music to an audience, and they require a fee for that.
Right.
But if we were an imprint, they could dictate how we present ourselves or even what the music is. The distributor works for us.
Absolutely.
Work.
But you also do some not necessarily non-physical music stuff too, because there was a time you had a zine for a while as well.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Obruxo, yeah.
So break that down for me, because I've never physically seen or
we have some with us here. We'll sell some.
Oh, cool.
We might even give you one.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, we have some. It was a way to pay mostly writers of color for good ideas and to write them down. Our last issue had 13 writers. So yeah, they were pretty fat, and that's kind of why we stopped production. Is exactly what you just said. A zine, it outgrew that. So we're trying to find maybe like a publisher to work with on it and present it in a different format.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can graduate. I mean, a zine kind of can box you in sort of
No,
conceptually.
no shade. Zine is dope, and we still make zines. It's just this project became something else.
Gotcha. So how do you come about finding those writers, or is it writers and illustrators too? Because
No, all the visuals are done by Al for the most part.
nice.
Yeah, Al is like our in-house visual genius, among other geniuses he carries. But yeah.
Yeah. So I know right before we started recording, we were talking about you have a music project that's just about to come out or just came out.
Came out on May 1st.
On May 1st. Nice. Well, that was just a few days ago. So, but I know I bungled the title of the record too. What's it called again?
It's called Stone School. It's my first collection of poetry, and it's orated over beats, and it's 32 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I think it's great, man. So did you produce this as well, or how did you guys
Yes.
do it? Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, that's another thing. When I was listening to that and sort of in contrast to Milo, to your material, both older and newer, like I started to try to visualize how you guys record when you're in a place together, because a lot of it seems as though the writing has like a lot of nonlinear style approaches to it. Some of it's almost like a haiku style thing. There's some really interesting like ways of repeating, like repetition and stuff like that. So are you, and this is a very elementary journalism question, but do you, especially for like a hip hop journalist type question, do you find, are you like writing without any music playing at all, and then you'll just apply that like from like just your own writing away from being like in a traditional studio scenario where like music is playing, you're writing to a record that you're about to record right then and there?
Yeah, I'm writing all the time, and I'm also writing in the studio. And then I like to combine it, give a verse different textures that way. Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah.
So you also, it's interesting because you've been here, that we're in Vermont, that we're in Burlington and Winooski. Some people, it's like their first time up here playing. And I've been here a handful of times too, both DJing and hanging out. But you guys, you've played here a few times already as well.
Yeah, we've played here a few times. Yeah, last time I played in Burlington, I got called a nigger while I was on stage.
Really?
Yeah, it was tight.
By someone in the audience?
Yeah, somebody paid money to come and call me a nigger at my show.
What happened after that?
Nothing happened. Nobody cared. So I just had to finish my set and then jump off stage. And then, of course, when that happened, everybody cared, and then the fool got kicked out. But
That's a little unnerving.
it's whack.
Yeah. But you also, did you spent some time, you grew up kind of close to here as well, right? I mean, the next state over, if I'm not mistaken, right?
2 states over.
Oh, did I mess that up?
I feel like New Hampshire's in between, right?
That's a good question. I might have to
It goes
look at a
Vermont, New
map. I'm
Hampshire,
sorry,
Maine,
y'all.
right?
But you grew up, you spent some time in Maine, though, right?
Yeah, my family. So, yeah, my father's family has roots in Maine, and I lived out there for a while.
What was this like? This was like as a youngster, right? So if you guys went
Yeah,
to high
this
school
was
together,
like, first grade,
oh wow.
second grade, and then we moved.
So how was that? What was that? What was it like?
It was cool.
It's small town Maine, right?
Yeah, I lived in Norway, Maine when I was in first grade. It was really cool. My dad has a giant personality, so living in a small town is kind of hilarious because I don't know, we got to know everybody in a cool way, and he would do a lot of fly stuff for me as a child, like orchestrate block-wide water gun fights and stuff like that. Yeah, my dad was really fly like that. So it was cool.
Has he been, or your folks or your family, like, do they get the music stuff? Like,
Yeah, they raised me on this music stuff. I was trained to be a rapper, and that was because of my parents.
what kind of music were?
I grew up listening to rap my whole life. My earliest memories of rap music. My mom loves X-Clan,
Nice.
and that's like To the East Blackwards is
Of course.
really like one of the first rap records I can remember listening to. And my dad loves Biggie, so that's kind of my origins.
Yeah, two great Brooklyn artists too. I actually befriended Professor X,
that's
Lumumba
tight.
Carson, not long before he passed.
Wow.
And he was a very cool guy, very affable, and was just a really neat person.
I'm jealous.
But I love X-Clan too. I love Exodus and To the East Blackers. They're both like so wildly unique.
We have this radio show called Ruby on Radio, and for a while I was starting every episode with the Verbs of Power poem that Professor X was, because I love that so much.
And there was something in one of your lyrics too. You said something about the grand verbalizer.
Oh yeah, I love that as an idea, and I like to return to it sometimes. This entity, the grand verbalizer. Yes, I love
Which
that.
I think was Brother Jay's moniker, right?
Yes, but like in my mythos, it becomes like a spirit that passes from person to person, the grand verbalizer. So there's times when I say that and I'm referring to specific people, and I'm trying to make it make sense in the context that I do it. But yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed too with your records, which I love, what I gravitate to the most, is how referential it is. And there's so many little things, nuggets, I guess, to pick up on, and stuff. If I love hearing a name of something, especially in hip hop, and that's like really my foundation. I mean, I work with a lot of different kind of artists, but I kind of came up in hip hop. But I love learning about something or someone that I've never heard of before in a rap
That's
song.
an element of hip hop that people forget about, is knowledge. And yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, because you had all types of, I love reading. I might not know every author, but you drop all types of cool authors in the songs that it's like, I remember my earliest kind of formative years listening to hip hop, listening to people like X-Clan and Brand Nubian and Public Enemy and so forth, where in KRS-One, where they would mention certain political characters or and you would want to educate yourself about what they must be cool or interesting if they were being brought up in a song.
And as a teacher, what is the best sign of your success as a teacher than having your student be interested in what you're talking about? Yeah, that's absolutely. Why rap is so fly. A lot of people discredit that. Yeah, like someone like Doom is kind of where I really got into that style, because he's referencing a lot of stuff on the face that people might enjoy and laugh at, but then he'll embed these really serious references in there. And it's like, man, if I hadn't read this comic book, I wouldn't now know who the Ansars are. And that's that relationship and that process of transferring knowledge is really cool, and something I try to do.
Yeah, I think, and it can go both ways, where it's like if you get a reference or if it hits you in a certain way, whether it's like a nostalgic way or if you're completely unfamiliar with it and you want to then like try to learn about it and look it up, it can be really rewarding in a way where I don't think a lot of musicians, sometimes they don't really take that into account, ahead of time. But
it's such a handy tool for a rapper.
Yeah, yes it is. And yeah, you use that well. It's a great device. There's even one where you kind of reinterpolate Freestyle Fellowship's "I Will Not Tolerate."
Oh yeah,
which is a great acapella. If you guys have never heard it, there's a group called Freestyle Fellowship out of Los Angeles. Say what?
We will not tolerate.
Yes, and it's like it's almost
beatings, lynchings,
torture, a mantra, really.
Mass murderings of blacks. We are not your ORDINARYPPERNIGGER. On our chest is wickedness. They're amazing.
Yeah, and you have like a totally different. The version that you made has a different cadence than this is the group.
I knew that's the only way they would like it.
Well, you can't do it exactly the same.
I had to do it totally different. Else they'd make fun of me.
Yeah, and at the same time, you have to take into consideration the way that Tolerate was recorded was like right after the LA riots. It was like an a cappella.
They had riots in Milwaukee last year.
Really?
Yeah. A cop killed a black man. Interestingly enough, black cop killed a black man in Milwaukee, and yeah, we had riots. And the whole city was burning. It smelled disgusting. We actually played a show that night in the city.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. It was like September 29th or something like that.
What?
Smell it.
Mm-hmm.
You can smell it during the show?
Yeah, we stepped outside and it was just like, whoa, what's going on? And it was like smoke everywhere and just stank. It was crazy, and we had to drive home, and my wife was with us, and at the time she was pregnant with my son, and we were just like, what the fuck, and like people driving crazy, doing crazy shit. We were like, oh my God, we gotta get home.
So before going into the show, it had nothing.
Nothing. We had
nothing
no
had jumped
idea.
off yet.
Yeah, over the course of the show, someone was murdered, and our city responded.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, and you can sort of sense some of that in the songwriting too, not that specifically, but there is a great deal of sort of, I don't know if angst is really the right approach, but just disappointment with people at times, you know, and like, it's just an interesting, I mean, it's hard to articulate, and I'm not going to try to mansplain it on stage in front of everyone.
I mean, I'll do it. I try to call it like, you know, pessimistic idealism. There's a lot of philosophers who get down like that, and poets. Two for me are Arthur Schopenhauer and Henry Dumas. And you know, just a pessimistic idealism.
When did you get like into like philosophy and stuff like that? Was it through in college or
Through rap?
School?
Through rap. My whole life, just growing up hearing philosophers make their stuff rhyme, and then like being around people who might read academic philosophy and hearing them say something and be like, oh, but I know that from this verse. I know that from Jizza. I know that from, you know what I mean? Being like, what are you talking about? That's in this rap song. And for me, it just built my whole background in philosophy. And then eventually I did go to college for philosophy. And that was where I read a lot of the more formal stuff that I know. But I don't put much, I wouldn't place more value on what I learned in college than what I learned from rap, philosophically speaking.
Dope. Yeah, I can dig it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same for me. In fact, I went to college where I got a degree in journalism at Humboldt State University in Arcata, California. Humboldt. Where
did you learn how to chop?
I didn't have to. Yeah, no.
That's a Micah 9 song.
But I knew a lot of people that did that. But I was writing for magazines at the time. I started a record label at that time called Female Fun Records, where I did a record with MF Doom and Prince Paul and a bunch of other people. What record? I did the first Special Herbs. I started Special Herbs. Wow. So the instrumental thing that MF Doom did.
Casually dropped that.
Well, that's not... Met Doom? I have, on a couple occasions,
Now it all changed. Whoa, dude. You've met Doom?
Yeah, we did it. We did 2 records together. We actually, the one time that we really spent any time together was in D&D Studios in New York when he was recording a song called My Favorite Ladies, which was a single.
Yeah, I know that song.
Wow. Yeah. Especially because what's funny is on the B-side, I think he dissed me on the record because he said something like, I robbed Peter to pay Paul so she could trick it on Mary so they could have a ball or something like that. So I might have been misinterpreting that as it aimed to me because it is a saying.
Weren't we just talking about that song?
Yeah, we were. That song is really sus. Crazy. That's his most sus song. Says some really questionable shit on that song.
Oh, word, I gotta re-listen to that.
But you met Doom.
Yeah, and we talked on the phone regularly too at that time. This is the year 2000, 2001. So it was a long time ago. It was a different...
That's the exact relationship I'd love to have with him, just to talk on the phone occasionally.
He's a great conversationalist, I'll tell you that. I mean, he's a private guy, so you don't it's almost better to just have phone calls because then you're not all up in someone's personal space. You're not dragging them out into a place they wouldn't rather be, you know. So... Yeah, it's interesting. There's some other people who are like you'll have, there's a lot of people I've never met in person that I've talked to many, many, many times, you know, so, but nevertheless.
Yo, if you ever talk to him again, let him know.
Oh yeah, for sure. We sort of we reconnected recently too because I did a podcast with with Devin Horwitz who runs Nature Sounds.
If he ever needs a beat, I got so many beat tapes, just Doom only. Just put that on the shelf.
Nice. Yeah, man, I would love to see that happen. I mean, you guys do have you're on a similar wavelength, that's for sure too.
I'm a biter.
And then you said you're not a biter, no. Maybe inspired by it, or it's informed by some of his stuff. There was even a line that you did too. It was like you said something like more I Bens than MF Doom or something like that. What was that? I flubbed that line.
I can't remember.
Right.
I got so many of them.
I know, that's why it's so referential.
For Doom especially, I got a lot of them because his are so good. Like, never let it interfere with the Yeti ghetto slang. You know.
Oh yeah,
that's
that's
like, come on, man. Yeah, Doom's the best.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of MF Doom. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk a little bit more about your time in LA, or at least the artists in LA, because I do feel like that's a big, subsection of your career. I mean, you're just starting out too. I mean, really, like you're 25 years old, right? So you're a young man. You got a long career in front of you too, and the stuff that the two you guys are doing is really cool. I know this guy's very quiet, and he's not. But I'm telling you, this record that he just put out is really cool. I would highly advise checking it out.
Stone Skull, revolutionary.
Oh yeah, so actually that reminds me too. That came out on Ruby Yacht.
Yes,
right?
it did. We're blessed and honored to put that out.
Yes, and so you have an actual formal new Milo album that's also coming out on Ruby Yacht. So that just got finished though, right?
Yeah, real recently, and it's done more or less. I still need to get the art for it. I need to figure out what it looks like now. But yeah, the sound of it is totally done.
So yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to. I think we're hitting it at a very special time, a particular time, since I haven't heard the material. It's brand new, and it would be interesting to hear you just describe it without anyone knowing what any of the music is.
Oh, plug it in, bro.
I was gonna say, if you have an aux cable,
do you want to hear some?
I don't. In fact, I think it's more interesting to just get some sort of like visual description of it. You know, how did without? There's not even a title or anything, is there?
No, there's a title. Every song is titled, and the album is called "Who Told You to Think."
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a phrase that I grew up hearing from my mom, that she grew up hearing from her mom. And it's just like, you know, when you're a kid and you hear it, wow, I love you, thank you. Thank you so much. The aux.
The power of free radio, everyone.
Springer.
Only here at Waking Windows with something like that.
Springer.
Y'all came in at the right time.
Thank you. But it's a phrase that you hear when you're young, and it really intimidates you, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, who told you to think?
Who told you to think? You know, like, I thought, da-da-da. Who told you to think, little boy? Be quiet, you know what I mean? And then it gets to an age where it's like, you know, you're like, well, I can say whatever I want. And you kind of respond to it seriously. And then it gets to an age where you hear it and you love it and you're like laughing and you know that it's in jest and you know that you have full license to think, and questions like that are a fucking joke.
Right. And, you know, depending on how it's posed to, you can answer back. Maybe if it's a young child to their parent, the repercussions of that reply back to the parent might, you know, end, not in favor of the child. Right. But, I mean, it's a pretty paradoxical question.
I love that question because the answer is always no one. And, you have to give yourself that license. So the record is about, as an artist, just generating my own licenses to ill, so to speak, and boundaries and melting them away.
Yeah, I like it too. I wanted to know too how you discern between, because you have like you do another project.
Word. So
this but it's
Scallops Hotel.
Yeah, Scallops Hotel is the name of that project. I'm sure there's some cats in the audience that are hip to it, because there's 2 or 3 albums, right? Of that.
Yeah, I can't even remember. I got 3 that I made last month.
Oh, that's what's
no
up.
lie. So now I forget which ones are even out.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are cassettes that like really you can only there are only 50 or 100 of them.
Yeah,
or something
Scallops. Like I might now just switch to only analog. And that might become the distinction for Scallops moving forward. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, then you have to like make a little bit of an effort to find it, get it when you can, and really come to the show, which is where you would be able to buy it, right?
But also like how I make that stuff, it lacks the number of hands that a Milo record has on it to make sure it sounds dope. So the cassette format it sounds really good on tape.
Right. And there's a way of listening to a tape where, I think a lot of people, it really depends, I guess, on how old you are too, perhaps, is we all now want to be able to be like, all right, I heard like the first verse, I'm going to the next song. Not that I don't like this song, but we're just like, we're so fucking programmed to just go to the next track, just to be like, whatever. You
gotta let it ride.
Even with DJs and shit now too, in the club too, where we only get like, the first few bars of a song. So listening to a cassette, you're able to listen to it in its entirety the way it was intended.
It's fatter.
Yeah, it's cool. We like tapes a lot.
Yeah, that's what's up. Me too.
But the distinction, I'm trying to kind of even blur that with this next record. I made a number of the beats on the next record under Scallops Hotel, and then it's rapper Milo on it. So it's like, I don't know, at this point it doesn't even mean much of anything, does it? They were making the distinction in projects was a way for me to get comfortable learning how to make beats. Now I'm at a place where I'm proud of everything I'm making, so there's no reason to cut it up.
Yeah, that's what's up. So when is this new project coming out?
I'm definitely going to drop a single by the end of this month.
Okay.
And I'm definitely going to put it out before summer is over.
Okay.
I'm just working hella hard on filling everything in and, making sure I have all the assets, like videos and, again, art. I don't know necessarily what it looks like yet.
Right.
So just trying to figure that out. So that's why I can't give a definitive date on when it's coming out.
Do you conceptualize the music videos too? Because you have a bunch of music videos.
Yeah, I've been filming them now.
Really?
Yeah, I did the last music video that I put out. I directed for Scallops Hotel and the Opo Tree Stipend. I just directed one with Al 2 weeks ago.
Oh, very cool.
I was trying to, in Milwaukee, there's this thing called the Knoll Fellowship, and they give $10,000 every year to different filmmakers.
Yeah.
And so I went for it last year, and I was a finalist. My
Really?
first year going, yeah. And
that's
so
dope.
now I got a couple more videos under my belt. I'm gonna try again.
Oh, it sounds like it's just a matter of time then. Really.
It kind of feels like it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Feels like
That's very exciting. I love the video. What's the one where you're in the water and you're being like exhumed from the water?
Ecclesiastes. I wrote that one with my boy West Tank. He's like our big homie in the film game, and definitely someone who inspired me to pick up the camera and kind of start filming us rapping. He's like a constant geyser of inspiration. West Tank made that video. Yes.
Give it up, everybody, for Milo.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Houseless. My name is Peter Agaston. I have a weekly podcast. It's called The Houseless Podcast. You can find it on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. I came up here all the way from New York to do this. These cats came from Milwaukee and been touring. Do not miss their performance tonight if you can. And that sounds dope. I can't wait for the album to come out. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Have a good one.
Yes. That track was dope. Yes. So end of the year or third quarter of the year, look out for that. This fall, it's gonna be dropping Milo. Listen, if you guys if you aren't hip, I'm telling you, here's seek this shit out. Basically, Ruby Yacht, which is the kind of the movement, the label, if you will, for lack of a better word, go to rubyyacht.com. So that's where you can kind of like get a better grasp of the catalog of stuff and sort of get a read on what these guys are doing, what Milo's doing, and look and try to find the Scallops Hotel stuff, because he's quite prolific as far as like these tapes go, because there's some really cool shit, I'm telling you, like just songwriting and production. And I guess he had 2 records. I would seek out the A Toothpaste Suburb, which came out 2014, and he did another collab with Kenny Siegel, producer in LA, down with kind of the Abstract Rude. I know they did a bunch of tracks, as well as just the that whole kind of world of the next wave of Project Blow artists. So the Files Don't Come. Check that out too. And I know I'd mentioned him in the beginning, but he was with us during the conversation. Safari Al. He just put out a record called Stone School that I would highly recommend as well, which is in the same lineage and line as Milo's stuff. And I know you can hear it at safarial.bandcamp.com. So peep both those dudes' joints out and find them and seek them out, please. You have been listening to The Houseless. It was definitely a pleasure. I want to send thank you to the organizers of Waking Windows, the music festival in Winooski, Vermont, that I just came from, where we recorded this, the staff and the organizers and all my friends up in Burlington, and all the people that played. It was a lot of fun. I hope to come back next year. And it was great. I'm glad I could share that with people, and I'm particularly thrilled that Milo was down to do it too, and it was a fun, exciting thing because we had never met each other. So yeah, thank you, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. If you listen to podcasts on SoundCloud, repost this on SoundCloud for me. Just hit that repost button. That's all I ask. Share this with people. I'm on Twitter as well, at TheHouseListPod. Feel free to just take the link, post it, send it to a friend. If you have a blog or a website or a newsletter, or you're on college radio or something like that, just mention it and get the word out a little bit, especially if you're a fan of Milo. And, we're just doing this on the humble. It's a DIY type of thing. So just get the word out. That's all I ask. As you can see, I don't have any advertisers. I'm not part of a big network. So my reach really comes from word of mouth. Just like the way Andre 3000 listened to my Bobby Simmons episode and hit him and saw him backstage at an event and told him, then it's the same way that my folks in Virginia and the people in Northern California and in Brooklyn and in LA, the people that I know are listening a lot, and overseas as well. I've been seeing it, I watch them, been monitoring it. I can see it, at least on SoundCloud. Yeah, let's keep the word going out there. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is Peter Agost, and I'm out of here. Thanks, y'all. Later.